Hi everyone, sorry to keep you waiting for some time, but well, there were certain technical difficulties that I was fixing. In the morning, I have a session where there are other two people or other three people, so I have to make audio settings accordingly. And now for the evening session, for this session, I'm all alone, so I have to make sure that those settings are also rightly put up. But I'm here and. Today is going to be an exciting day because you're going to learn Bogo Indian, one of my favorite openings for a period. I used to love it so much. I've played so many games in it, and I want to transfer all the knowledge to you in this next 1 hour. I don't know how successful I will be because there was, when you're playing an opening, you not only feel the moves, but also there are emotions attached to it. Some games you have lost, some games you have won. There are a lot of things that are attached to us to a specific line, and not everything can be transferred just by words. You have to start playing it and then understand. But a big welcome to everyone who's here. People are asking what's the thumbnail all about. Well, the thumbnail is to inspire each one of you to take active role in this lockdown in helping your family, your mother, your parents, or if you're already a parent, then actually to go into the kitchen and start cooking, to clean the house. And this is what one the thumbnail is. I'm cooking food, and I've been enjoying it in this lockdown, trying out new things, and I want you guys to do that as well. So that's the reason why. Um, that's the reason why I put it. By the way, Nikhil and Sumit, the mods who are here, please be kind to the viewers. Also, at the same time, someone who's spamming, please be strict with them. So your job is as difficult as mine. Not easy because there's no right or wrong in what you do, but try to make sure that genuine people are not banned and those who are making a mess are removed. So okay, so shall we begin? I think it's time to start. It's from black side: d4, knight f6, c4, e6, and a lot of you said that whenever we play this, our opponents play knight f3 or they play g3. Not many people are playing knight to c3. And well, if knight c3, then all of you know you're going to go for the Nimzo Indian here. But if not, knight c3, and if your opponents play knight to f3 in this position, then my suggestion is, I have a twofold suggestion here. One is bishop b4, which we are going to cover today, and d5, which we will cover in the next class. This leads to queen's gambit decline. Also a wonderful opening. I used to feel it's very boring, but no longer. I feel it's very interesting, very solid, with a rich history. So we'll get to that. Okay, so bishop b4, and now what does your opponent play here? If knight to c3 here, we have transposed into Nimzo Indian territory with the knight f3 line. And what's the move here for black? Let me see if people remember the move that I recommend in this position. Black to move, what would you play? Good morning, Girish, Haider, Yasmin. Who else? So many people here whom I know, so many new people. Don't know. Do we have the youngsters here? Um, yes, Mayur, you are right. Also, Jyotisha, Yash, Rohit, Kushal, Anish, Vidya, Niranjan, absolutely right. You guys are absolutely right. The move is c5, and this is what we learned yesterday. g3, then you can take and play knight e4, and also e3 is what we learned, basically knight c6, bd3 takes. So it all fits into our plan perfectly. It's not like something white does and you are out of book. So now, basically you have to focus only on three moves, I should say four moves, but out of which two are blunders. So let's get them over with. Queen d2 doesn't make sense. You can just win the queen. Knight d2 also doesn't make real sense. I mean, you're moving back your developed piece. I don't like it so much, and there's nothing much to talk about. Even a move like just d5 simply gives black a very good position, just playing in the center. So that brings us to nbd2 and bishop d2. These are the two main moves. Let me start off with knight bd2 because it's relatively smaller in size, and also, I mean, there is not what to play here is not so sure. I'm going to give you a recommendation which is not very popular or not very well known over here, because all the lines that are well known are well analyzed. So let's talk about, first of all, why knight d2 was not considered by many as a main move. So the main thing is that in this opening, although white is still going to play bishop d2, he harbors an ambition to put his knight on c3. Knight is best placed on c3 because it attacks the d5 square, also controls the e4 square, both of these things. But when you put your knight on d2, already you begin to feel like this is not something right. So therefore, with black, a lot of players would play the move d5, in this position. They'll be like, now playing this makes complete sense because, we're just playing our pawn to d5. And then white players started playing check, knight goes to c6, a3, and it was not the most comfortable because bishop e7, e3, this line started to score pretty well for white players. I think there are many games here, you can have a look at them by strong players. Also, instead of just going e3, here white can also play g3, which also leads to a good position. And really, you don't want to give up your bishop with bishop d2, because this is again a position which is playable, but maybe white is doing pretty okay. So what started to happen was that d5 queen a4 check started to get a little bit worrying. So people started to say castle here, and then white players would play the move a3, and they would ask black, do you want to take on d2? Because and then black says, no, I don't want to take on d2, I'll go bishop e7, and next move I'll play d5 with a good position. When your knight is misplaced on d2, it should have been on c3. Then white says, no, you missed your chance, I'm going to play e4. And this actually leads to a very sharp kind of a battle with e4, because now black is developed, white has the center. So a logical way to play here would be to break in the center with d5. Although d6 makes a lot of sense and is also one of the main moves, and I request you to, if you want to play this way, then have a look at this kind of systems here with two ideas. One is c5, which leads to some kind of either cd4 lines, or if your opponent plays d5, then some kind of a Benoni like structure with e5. Or you can go for knight bd7 in this position with e5, and even this position is playable. Okay, so I'm going to recommend you this move to look into it. Please have a notebook with you, because there's a lot of work that I'm going to give you. If you want to cover Bogo Indian well, then there is some homework that needs to be done. I cannot cover everything in 1 hour, but I can definitely guide you. Okay, I have a very pleasant memory about this opening, because Acumen Chess Academy says we can't give pair of bishops to our opponent. Not always, not always. You can, in Bogo Indian, often you do that, if you are able to centralize your knight. Okay, coming back to the story, the thing is, in 2014, I was going to go on this trip with Amruta to Spain, and we are going to play four events in Spain and one more event in Germany, Dresden. And I was working pretty hard on chess during that period. And on one of the days, somehow it was a very slow day. It started off pretty badly. I mean, there was some work at home. I couldn't practice chess. I had to do some work. Maybe we had some argument and stuff. So I went to the office. We have a place where we used to work, and I set up my laptop and I was like, what should I work on today? I've already spent half a day. It's wasted. Don't feel like working anymore. I should look at something that kind of sort of invigorates me or makes me feel refreshed. I said, how about looking at this line with d5? Because such lines always used to make me feel slightly tensed. I used to feel worried because white was, going e5, and then I had to play knight d7, and then he would go bishop d3, and then I had to go c5. And since childhood, I had a fear of these four pawns facing each other. I can take, you can take, I can take, you can take. I mean, I used to go crazy. What's happening? How can I understand what's going on here with so many takes, and stuff like this? And somehow that day I sat down and I said, no, I must study this line. And I spent 4 hours looking at variations after e5. And where did this come into use? Well, it came into use in Dresden when which was the last event of this trip of ours, and I was playing against GM Zakhartsov. Uh, I think Vladislav Zakhartsov. Let me just see if I can find him. Yes, Zakhartsov, and he played with me this system. I will just pull up this game. Actually, the nice thing is that he lost this game, but he analyzed it in the mega database. This entire game, which is very nice of him. Um a few of you must be wondering, why should black play knight f d7 here? Why can't he go knight e4? The problem is that after bishop d3, knight d2, bishop d2, this already seems like a very good position for white. In fact, yeah, I mean, it's just like white has great development, two bishops looking at the king side. It's just good position. So I said, no, I shouldn't do this. Let me focus on here, knight d7. Okay. Any questions that I'm missing? Okay, so knight d7, bishop d3. My opponent is a GM. His rating is 25-48. I was 23-39 at that point. c5, and this is the reason what used to scare me a lot was this move h4. Now this line has a lot of new ideas here. Actually, h4, I am not sure. I think it has even ceased to be the most hmm, how do you say, the most trending line in this position. I think queen c2 is becoming popular in this position. Also castles is played. I mean, there are a lot of different things, but h4, I believe, is again is a critical move. So the thing is, if you're going to play something like cd, you're going to get struck right in the right where it hurts with this check. And you see the rook here, and next move queen comes in, so you're going to lose this game. And so you have to make a move, and the most natural move did seem h6. But people started to find a very novel way to attack now for white. Can you find it? White to move in this position. What should white do here? This is why h6, which looks the most natural, doesn't work. Anyone who can think of an idea here? Yeah, g4 possible, knight g5. Yeah, maybe it's also interesting. Knight g5. I may ignore it completely and just take on d4. You don't have too many threats there. Yes, Yash, you are absolutely right. Yash is right. He's given the right answer. Also, Pranav Jujare, you are absolutely right. The right move here is not knight g5 as all of you feel, because then I can take your e5 pawn is also hanging, and you are really not threatening anything. Bishop h7, I just move my king. So I don't think this is a good way to play. But the right move here is bishop to b1. And this line with idea of queen c2 started to become so much problematic for black. Maybe some of these things work. So you have to look at them again, but I think bishop b1 is powerful, and so everyone had to play this move g6. And actually in the game I played move g6, and if you look at it, it doesn't seem right. White has played h4, you are playing g6 and allowing him to attack further. And this was my that 4 hours on a lazy afternoon well spent. I said cd, I took. And now here the move is queen c2 that was played in the game. The problem with hg is that after fg, I think you are not in time for any sacrifices. The basic thing is that, for example, now you want to create some sacrificial attack like with queen c2. Then I'm just going to play queen e8 and defend this pawn here. And next move I'm going knight c5 and eliminating this bishop. So I'm just in time. For example, if you want to play a move like b4 trying to stop it, I go knight c6 and now I attack e5 pawn. So white also doesn't have much time to focus on the king side. So in the game he played queen c2 and I very quickly jumped to c5. He took hg, and now I must first put the move knight into d3, interpose it, queen d3, and then I took fg. And I was feeling very confident because I had prepared everything. I'm playing a GM. I know I'm playing a risky line. He's attacking me. His rook is on the open file. Maybe the knight could jump some point to the king side somehow. Queen could come in. But I was not worried. I developed my knight with a tempo. Queen e3. Now maybe with some ideas here. And here I think I made an interesting move. Perhaps now with modern engines, the move queen b6 is much stronger here, because the queen is very well placed in this position, and a move like queen to h6 is met with rook f7. And then there are all sorts of threats in the position like knight d4 with the idea of looking at this f2 square, and somehow queen is very well placed on b6. But at that point I wasn't so well versed, but I had this idea of playing a5. My point was that I want to stop b4, and so I played a5. He played b3 to develop his bishop, and I made a nice move here, which I remember, which was b6, bishop b2, bishop c5, attacking the queen. Queen went to h6. Now queen e7 and rook h4. And my opponent writes in his analysis that he was still dreaming of attacking with king e2 and rook here. Actually, knight g5 would have been better, but I had seen that I can take on f2, king e2 and rook a7. This was another idea of the move a5 and b6, which was to clear the 7th rank. And I don't know if this is the best that I could have done here, or maybe I could have begun with rook a7, which is also possible. But rook h4 was not a great idea. It was very slow. I went rook a7. He played king f1 now. suddenly changing his plan because he realized that king e2 now had no sense. I would just exchange the queens, and he is kind of misplaced in the position. So he played king f1. I went queen g7. He took rook takes, and now he played rook e1. And I looked, I was thinking in the position, and I was looking like, what can I do? Can I take on c4? If I take on c4, he knight takes, maybe he jumps in. Can I do something else? Can I develop my bishop here? Can I develop my bishop here, pinning the pawn? And then it struck me, oh my god, what was the move? Black to move. Can anyone find black to move here? Anish Adiga says ND3 GH7 intermediate check. Anish, ND3 itself is a check. So, black to move and to finish off the game. Can you find it? And to beat a strong GM. Actually, it came as a big surprise to him as well, this move. He had just forgotten about it, which was kind of sad because he was he was playing well in this game. Anyone? Anudeep Anup, well done. Anudeep Anup is the first one to find it. Anyone else? Yeah, it's an odd move, yeah. Yash Bharadia, you are right. Lalita Aditya, you are right. Pranav Jujare, absolutely. Sumed, you are right. So many now have got the move. Jayant Saha, Haidar Yasmin, Manyam Tiger, Pankaj Panchal, Deadshot, Arnav Khandelwal, Yash Gore. Very good. Jagdish Machi, welcome. Good morning, all. Yeah, the move is g5, and here my opponent just lost a piece, an entire piece, because if he moves his rook to g4, which is what he did in the game, there came h5, and my point was, if you take on g5, I will take, and check. This is what he missed, and king f1, I have a discovered check, and then I win another piece. Terrible. So rook g3, and I went g4, and I think it was all over. I think the next part of the game was well played by me. Take He cannot really take on c6 because of check, and then take on f2. So he played knight f3, ed, e6, king g6, b4. I took bishop b4, knight e5, exchanged, rook f5, e7, bd7, and here he resigned the game. Next move, I'm going to stop this pawn. If he queens here, I can take, and take on f2, and then take this bishop, and so he resigned. uh, Now, few things to learn from this experience. First of all, whenever it's a sharp line, very sharp line, try to analyze it well. These 4 hours which I spent, I got so comfortable with this entire system that I was like, I have nothing to worry about. At least at that level, when I was playing, I understood that I can play, and actually to play such a line against such a strong GM without fear could only be done if you are well prepared. So I would request and recommend all of you that if there is some sharp line, sit down for a nice amount of time, set up a chess board, set up your laptop, have mega database, have chessbase with you, and start analyzing it. And never know when it will be useful. I actually went on to win this tournament, as I have mentioned this previously to you. I beat this GM, then another GM in the next round, then another IM, and it was like a great event. And I won, but it would have never happened if I had not prepared this opening so well. On that lazy afternoon when nothing was happening, I just sat down and prepared. Okay, now so I can recommend you to look into this. You might not, you will have to spend some time here for these moves like h4, what's happening, g6, whether he plays h5. There is also the move queen c2. You may see there is a move b4. There are many different possibilities which you may have to analyze. So please do that. The move which I am recommending against NBD2 might look a little funny to you, but I think it's interesting. For a long period, I used to play the move B6 here, and my idea was to put the bishop here. But the thing which really started to get me off track with this line was after A3. I have to take, kind of. If I go back now, E4 comes even more powerfully, because D5 I can play, but what is this move B6 doing instead of B6? So I must take on D2 here, and then after bishop D2, I was happy, with this position, like bishop b7, bishop g5, and if I'm not wrong, I had prepared h6, bishop h4, d6, e3, knight bd7, bishop d3, and then g5, bishop g3, and even h5. This is what was, I think, my preparation, and I was very happy. I was going to kind of sort of destabilize this bishop. If you take here, then h4 is trapping the bishop here, bishop f4, e5, black is winning. But what really was worrying for me was that after bishop d2, he would take with the queen. And here I tried hard for many months, years, for different games. I've played several games here. I would play bishop b7, he would play e3, then I would play something like d6, he would play b4, I would play knight bd7, bd2, castles, bishop e2, knight e4, queen c2, f5, castles, and then castles, and then we would reach this position, and I somehow always felt that white has this space edge, has these two bishops, and yes, I can try to launch some kind of an attack, but when you analyze it deeper, you see that actually there is no real attack. It's like you are trying to hit a dead wall. So my interest in this line declined. If you are able to find something here, please let me know. Please call me. Okay, please message me, or please email me on chessbaseindia@gmail.com. I will be very interested to know. Okay. There are always, when I'm teaching something with full focus, and then I look into the chat. Look at just think about it from my angle. Okay. I read it, and I'm looking at, oh, what is some interesting question or something. So the first thing I read is Thappad. Second is King's Gambit. Third is tell us about opening encyclopedia. Now there are no tournaments except in online. How to know if there are any tournaments? Sir, मैं Sicilian Dragon खेलता हूँ, कोई वीडियो इस पे बनाइए. Castling, no. White is good. High and buy. I mean, what should I do? Like, even see the chat? So my request to all of you is, think about it from my angle. Yeah, I'm trying to teach you something, and you guys are trying to write something which is absolutely pointless many of the times. Okay, so if you have any questions related to the line, that's great fun, to answer. So I stopped going for this b6 move, and then I decided, now before this session, actually I was looking at some new ideas, and I think this is something worth investigating, is the move a5. It might seem pointless at first, but if you think about it, white's most natural move here is a3, and then I want to take here, and then with whatever piece he takes, like bishop or the queen, I want to play a4. I'm not sure how good this line is, or if, suppose, let's say he plays queen d2. Once again, I'm thinking of trying to fix these pawns with a4. Now, perhaps this may not be the most sound kind of solution, but at least it's something which you can think about. Although if you are looking for something very sound, I think castle is definitely something worth looking into. Bishop e7, and then e4 I think would be the most natural. If he plays e3 or g3, you can just go d5, and you can be happy. Knight d7, b6, bishop b7, very good position. This knight is not so well placed here, but e4 is what you have to work, and I've given you two ideas here. One is d5 in this position, and another one is d6, with the idea of e5 and c5 both in this position. Okay, so please look into that, and also see if a5 is something you like. I'm not so sure about it. It's just a new idea which struck to me, and I wanted to share it with you guys. If you play something like e3 or something, then you can always castle, bishop d3, d5, and then you are happy, in this position. Nothing much to worry about. Okay, that I think just about covers the move knight bd2 in the Bogo Indian, because I have kind of covered a lot of plans here. Shubham Srivastav says, today you are in a jolly mood, it feels good. Yeah, something changed, yeah, today it seems. Okay, so bishop b4 check. Let's go to the main move, bishop d2. And this is what you're going to face many of the times. And here, um, the move that I can recommend, there are two moves that I would like to recommend. One is queen to e7, which I have played almost all my life. And the other move which I want you to take note of is a5. I played it only once in my life, this move a5 with black, but what a game, how important that game was. I mean, it was the most important game of my life, because I'll tell you, I was at a rating of 2399 point, what was it, 2399.6, I think my rating was. So live rating, and I had made all my three norms, IM norms. So Amruta and I were celebrating that evening that I'm become an IM, because zero point 0.6 means you kind of round it up to 2400. And then we ate a pizza, and we were in Spain at that point, and we went to the room, and then we contacted the arbiter said, yes, you are an IM if you withdraw your name from the tournament. And I was like, oh my god, I don't want to withdraw. I mean, I've come all the way to Spain to play. He said, but no, if you don't withdraw, then how can we round it off? It means you have to still play, and if tomorrow you lose, then you go down. And I was like, my god, so the celebrations were for nothing. So I went to the next round. I was very stressed, tensed, because if I draw, he was a higher rated opponent. In fact, he was Magnus Carlsen's first coach. His name was Hansen Torbjorn Ringdahl, his name was. And the opening he played against me, I was white, yeah. So he played against me this move. I played bishop d2, and he played this move a5. I was like, no, I don't know what to do against it. So this game against Hansen, I went knight to c3, just putting in the game. Yeah, I went knight c3. He played d6. I played e3. I was very careful. I was hoping somewhere I can make a draw. I'll be an IM. Look how defensively I was playing. I was just trying to exchange everything, exchange, try to do that. And at the end, it was horrible. I, from a completely even position, I went into a rook endgame, which was like a miserable rook endgame here. And in the end, I lost this with white. These pawns are just too weak, and there I was down to something like 2394 or 2395. I had lost already 4 to 5 elo points. And then next round, I was paired against this youngster Raghunandan KS, who is now an IM and a very strong player in India. He's from Karnataka, and at that point his rating was just 1993. And imagine my worry. Here is a boy who's very talented, who's just 1993. My rating has already gone to 2394, 95 something. And if I lose to him, it means that my chances of becoming an IM for this event are gone completely. So I was tensed, but my opponent started with d4, knight f6. Sorry, 1 second. Let me pull out the game. Yeah, here it is. d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, and I was black this time. I played bishop b4, he played bd2, and I thought to myself, and I said, what should I do? Yesterday, my opponent played a really good opening with black, and I pushed my pawn to a5. Believe it or not, I had not prepared it even one bit, but I said I must play this move, and yeah, I went on to win this game. And then I reached again 2396, 2398 or something, and then next round I drew and I crossed 2400. I drew against Peruvian WGM Daisy Corey, and became an IM. This tournament was Sant Marti in Spain, and so Raghunandan played g3. I went d6. He played bg2. I went knight bd7. So my basic idea in this opening, if you ever play, is you play a5, and if the opponent takes, you take back. Okay. The thing is that you get an open file for your rook. The pawn on b4 is stopping the knight from coming here, and it's not a weakness, because even if he tries to come to attack here, you can always go c5, and if he takes here, you can play like knight c6 or knight a6 over here, and then you can pick up this pawn with maybe putting the queen here. So b4 is never going to be weak in this position. So most of the times they never take on b4. g3, d6, bg2, knight bd7. This is how I want to play. If whatever white does, I want to play my pawn to d6, I want to put my knight to d7, and I want to push e5. Okay, so castles e5, and here I think the main move, if I am not mistaken, is to simply move the bishop somewhere, like bishop g5 or bishop e3 or something, and then ask the question to this bishop that what are you doing here. It's theory, like bishop g5, you must take on d4 so that you create another square on c5 for your bishop, knight d4, and then I think h6 is a move, and then white could go back to c1. It's kind of convoluted line. I don't know how to say it. It's like completely upside down happening. But my opponent played the move d5, and I was very happy with this move because I could take here, knight takes, castles, knight c3, knight c5, and now you know I went for the move c6 here. I think nice move. Knight b3, bg4. Just asking the queen, what do you want to do? If you're going to play f3, I have this nice move, queen b6, waiting for you to take some advantage here. So he went queen c2. I went queen b6. He took. I took back. Knight a4, queen a7, and here h3 was played. bd7, dc, bishop c6, and then finally I got a stable position here, and I went on to win this game. It was not at all easy. In fact, I was very close to drawing and I would have lost further elo, but I won. So you see my kind of, I feel close to this opening after a5, so that's the reason why I'm recommending this move to you. Please look into it. What I have been playing all my life is queen e7 here, and this is one line which I learnt it in this book by Roman Ginjihashvili and Eugene Perelstein, where they used to say that the main move for white is g3, and then black would go knight c6. this looks a little awkward, knight on c6. What is it doing on c6? It has a very nice point, which is like it is attacking d4 pawn, and if white makes the simple move bishop g2, black has a very good move here. Can anyone tell me what should black play here? It is only a good move because there is a knight already developed on c6. And by the way, good move is what they mention. I don't know now if it's good move. Opening theory is such that it keeps evolving, it keeps changing, and therefore what seems like a good move 5 years ago may no longer be a good move. So in this position, what would you play here as black? What do you do here as black? And I'm going to tell you something interesting in this position. Yeah, all those who are facing a lag, just refresh and it should be okay. Has everyone gone to sleep? Come on, guys. What should white play here? Sorry, black play here. What should black play? Okay, I have some answers. Sorry, my mistake. Knight e4 is what everyone's saying. Mm-mm-mm. A lot of people were asking me a3. Like, you mean to say after a5, what happens to a3? I think here you can just take, and after queen d2, because you want to develop your knight to c3, the best move here is once again d6. I think it's recommended in this setup to go like the same way which we have discussed, which is knight b d7, e5, castle, and that's how you play these systems. Yeah. So g3, sorry, queen e7 here, g3, knight c6, and this is the move where I want you to think a bit. What should black play? Anyone who said bishop d2, good job. Setu Minocha, Ashi Upadhyay, Abhinav Bhatt, all of you are right. I used to think this was a great move. Now I don't know. This feeling. I don't know if any one of you has felt it. Maybe the youngsters here would not have felt it, but I realize that the more I start to understand something, the more I feel that I'm not an expert at it. This feeling is like, the less knowledge I have, the more I start to feel like I'm a big expert. Like I learn something and I say now I know everything and I go. But when I learn more and more about it, I feel like no, this is even more complicated. There is so much more to know. That way. Okay. Some philosophy should always be there in the chess class. Okay. So queen d2 is not a good move. At least that's what I thought. Why? Why do you think queen d2 is not a good move? Anyone? Setu Minocha says, please show my game in the Bogo Indian. Setu, if we have time, I would do that. There's so many things to cover. What should black play here? Knight e4, very good. Knight e4 followed by queen b4. Good job, guys. Arsh Bagda, Bhaku Choku, Shivam Chaudhary, Setu Minocha, Yash Gaur, Omkar Chakradev. Knight queen b4 directly seems a little bit not so great. I can go queen c3, which looks like a nice move. Like for example, queen here, queen c3. And if you take, I take back with the knight with a nice position. If you try to attack me here, I can now take, and play castles. It's interesting because after knight c2, I have a very powerful move here. This is a nice line, actually. Not so easy to find, but very nice. White to move and win. It's a new theme. Like, I have never seen this before. Uh, Knight e4 instead of bishop d2. Okay, let's have a look at that as well. Says practical thinking. White to move. Come on, guys. What do you do here? Yes, Sumed. Very good. Very good. Suryan Shwarma, Yogaraj Mahale. Also well done. Knight e1. E1 is a great move. Attacking this knight. So if you take, you're already giving white a great position. And if you take on a1, then I take on e4, and this guy is not coming out. You're going to win 2 knights for a rook, which is great. Very good. Very strong crowd we have here, which is few more names who got it right. Shivant M, Suryan Shwarma, Ilam Parthi, Haidar Yasmin, Yograj, Mahale, I said, Sai Swaroop, Anudeep Anup, Geeta Ritesh. Great, great, great. So many good players. Okay, so that doesn't work so well. By the way, practical thinking asked why not knight e4 here. The reason why no knight e4 is because of castles, and then if you take, I take, and somehow this bishop must take, otherwise it's doing nothing on b4, and then after queen d2. I don't like black's position. White has beautiful coordination. He'll get his rook here, other rook here, maybe build up his center. I don't enjoy it. Okay, so bishop d2, uh, queen d2, and not knight queen b4, but knight e4. This is what I thought is a great line to play, knight e4. But then comes queen c2, and now the move I used to make was queen b4 check, and if knight to c3, my idea was to take. If pawn takes, I'm a pawn up after queen takes c4. If queen takes c3, I'm going to take, and play this nice little move, knight a5, or even rook b8, with the idea of b6, bishop a6, knight a5. I'm not doing b6 directly here, because then he goes knight e5 and causes me trouble on the long diagonal. That is a problem. I don't want to get into that. But rook b8 just gives black a great position. So everyone used to think, no, knight c3 is bad, and so they started playing knight d2. But then you take, and then if you take with the queen, I take the c4 pawn. If you take with the knight, this is the point of knight coming to c6, I take the d4 pawn. And everyone used to think, wow, this is great, this system. So black has to take here with the knight, and then we have a game which I will explain to you. But then one day, I played in the Qatar Masters, and this was the strongest ever tournament I have ever played. This tournament was amazingly strong. It was, um, I think, let me see it. I faced, I think, around how many, some 4 or 5 GMs above the rating of 2600. It was insane. And Magnus Carlsen was playing there. I think that's the only tournament where I and Magnus have played together. Same tournament. and I remember one of the games he came to my board when I was playing against Vladimir Fedosiev. He was looking at it because his game was over. That was very nice. Uh, and in this game, I was paired against Grandmaster Ni Hua of China. I played my favorite Bogo Indian. He played BD2. I went Queen E7. He played G3. I went Knight C6. And he played Bishop G2. And I said, oh, that's a mistake. Bishop G2. How can a player like Nihua 2690 play a move like bishop g2? Because the main move here, of course, is knight c3, okay, which I will talk to you about. But bishop g2, and I went bishop d2. I was expecting him, now he will take knight into d2. But he took queen into d2. Like, wow, queen into d2. That means that he doesn't know the opening trap. I played knight e4 and he played queen to c2. And I jumped in with queen b4. My heart was racing, like I think this was. Uh, I felt like I had caught him in an opening trap or something like that. And here came kind of a shock to me in this position when my opponent touched his king. I said, what? He's moving his king and he played it to f1. I was very surprised. I had never looked at this move in my life, and I don't know how good this move was at that point. Now I know that this move is pretty good, pretty interesting. White is saying to black, yes, I missed my chance to castle. I know that. But look, I have the center. Your knight is not so well placed. Your queen, what is it doing on b4? And all of that. So I played the move d5 here in the game, and Nihua went e3. I think this is where I made the mistake. I went for queen into c4. I thought, okay, I'm getting a pawn. Let me take it. And Nihua went knight bd2, knight takes, and somehow this position was just pretty bad, pretty bad. He's going to take here, and once the king is on f1, how can I even think of exchanging queens? I should have just played my pawn to f5, perhaps one possibility, or castle, just castle it out. And this position is playable for black, but for white as well. White has a good position. I did this silly move queen c4, and then I suffered for the rest of the game. Against these technical monsters like Nihua, I was no match. And I don't think anyone would be a good match against that. I lost, he has full control on the c4 pawn. He slowly pushed me back. He exchanged a few pieces. I fought hard, it was not like I gave up, but look at my rook here. So sad. Yeah, he won the h4 pawn, and later on I lost the game. So there you have it. You prepare something, you prepare some nice ideas. That, oh my god, queen b4, knight e4, queen b4 is great, and then suddenly over the board opponent plays king f1 and you are like shell shocked. Try to calm yourself down. Always, it happens at the highest level. You prepare something and your opponent has something else prepared and you are in trouble. Okay, so that brings me to my next. By the way, king f1 is not a winning move or something, so you can still play it with black, nothing wrong with it. bg2, bd2, but most of the players take on d2 back with the knight. Okay, and this is where I like this entire thing. You go d6, castles, and you play castles, and e4. And now what should you play here as black? I mean, it's a simple move, but it's a concept which I want you to understand. What should black play here? Say to Minocha, if your opponent plays king f1, you still play d5. If he plays e3, just castle. Don't exchange the queens. Bring your queen back to e7. Tell white, hey, your king is on the center. I will play f5. I will try to open up the position somehow. Look at ways in which you can take advantage of that factor of the king being in the center. The imbalances. Remember, you have minor pieces, you have pawn structure, material, space, open files, weak squares, initiative, development, all of this. And the last one was king safety. Remember, white king is slightly unsafe. Must find a way to attack it. Not easy, but you must try. Not like me. Don't be a chicken like me and exchange queens and then cry in the end game. Yeah, that was not good. Yes, e5. Absolutely right, all of you. E5 is absolutely correct in this position. The concept is that I exchange my dark square bishop, and this we did even in the Nimzo Indian, if you remember. I exchange it and then I put my pawns on the dark square so that my other bishop is really cool. You know, it's open. Many people, once they learn this, they start to feel that no, bishop d2, queen d2, d5 is not the right way to play. You must play d6, e5 here. But not always. You know, sometimes even this is fine, and that's also theory, by the way. Anyway, so bg2 takes knight d2 now. That's what we are looking at. D6, castles, castles, e4, e5, and now when he plays d5, the move that I recommend you to play is knight to b8. And it may seem like a pretty passive move, but black's kind of setup is the same. a5, knight a6, bishop d7, push the pawn to c6. This is what black is going to do in almost all his games. I want a small question to you. I have a small question to you. If you had to remove two pairs of minor pieces from the board, which would be in your favor as black, which are these two pair of pieces? Like, what would you let remain on the board? Would you let this knight and this bishop remain? Would you let this bishop and this bishop remain? Would you let this bishop and knight remain? Or this knight and knight? I mean, what would you let in this position? What are the minor pieces you would like? Knight, knight, you want knight, knight, okay? Bishops. Says Siddhant Satao. Kushal Chess says knight b8 and bishop g2 to be left. Very good, Kushal. Very good. Ilam Parthi says black knight and white bishop. Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely. All those who said that knight, this bishop is very unhappy because his pawns are on the same color, it limits his mobility. So if you can exchange this knight for one of these two and this bishop for one of these two knights, then what will remain is this bishop versus this knight, and this will give black, b8 knight will give black a great position. That's what we aim at. Now let's look at one game very quickly. This was between Arkady Naidich. You know him, he came to Delhi to play once. Very good player. And opponent black was Naidich, white was Mamedyarova. Mamedyarova is the sister um, of Shakriyar Mamedyarov. Yeah, Mamedyarova. So in this game, knight b8. Uh, yeah, I mean castle. So we reach this position like this. You know, castles, castles. E4, E5, D5, knight b8, knight e1, and a5. This is how we reach this position. So as I said, a5 is part of the plan. Knight d3, you go knight a6. We already know knight is well placed there. F4, and now as black, what would you do here? You see, white is being very aggressive. White is like, I'm going to checkmate you, but black says, I'm going to strike back. What should black play? Black to move. Yeah, Mehul Kamani, it's a good suggestion to make playlists of different openings. Right now, my aim is to give you an idea of all the openings, and then perhaps we can sort of go further deep into something. But Neil Jain, bishop g4, yes, possible, but then after queen moves, say queen e1. I know you want to play, if I play queen c2, you want to go bishop e2, but I play queen e1. Not 100% sure if your bishop is well placed on g4. I'm threatening to kind of trap it with f5. Yeah, bishop g4 is the most natural move, and rightly everyone is suggesting it. But I think bishop g4, you must look at queen e1 and be careful. Yeah, Setu Minocha, absolutely right. Setu is like a Bogo Indian expert. Yeah, he knows his opening. The and also Zephania Ekanugraha. Okay, nice name. Zephania. C6. It means that when your opponent is trying to attack you on the other side of the board, you try to break here, and now two things can happen. Just imagine, once I take on CD, he can play ED. It means that my bishop can jump to F5 because now there is no pawn on E4. Or if you play CD, my bishop can go to D7 to B5 and start putting pressure like this. So C6 is a very interesting move. Now, F5 was played in the game. This is quite a bad move, I feel. Somehow it just loses all the tension in the position. But white says, I'm going G4 now, then G5, and I'm going to blow you off the board. So black says, okay, but before that, I'm coming to get you. CD. By the way, ED was better, but then after something like, say, Queen C7, Queen E2, Bishop D7, G4, Knight C5, takes, H6. Already, black is doing much better in this position. His king is much safer. Uh, so CD, and now bishop D7, good move. G4, there is no time because there is bishop B5 coming, so knight C4 was played. If A4 is played, then you go B5, blasting open the position further. Knight C4, bishop B5, B3, and now came a nice move. I want you to think about it. What should black play? And this game gives you a model of what black is aiming for. Black to move. Mayur Gondalekar says, I'm happy that Sagar started off as a D4 player for two things. A, I didn't face him yet, so I didn't have to answer one D4. And B, now I have learned quite a bit of D4 openings. Yeah, in general, I think D4 is a little bit neglected as compared to E4. But we are going to go to E4, and there's quite some work to be done there. So we are reaching there slowly and steadily. Yeah, Shyam, Empire, instead of knight e1, if b4, anyway you go a5. Put knight a6, put bd7, put c6. You're going to do the same thing. Yes, Kushal Chess, absolutely right. Ilam Parthi, you are also right. Neev Patel as well. Uh, the right move is just takes. Well, Pranav, who is it? Who asked why ED is better? Missed the chat. Yeah, Anadi Yadav. The ED is better because after CD, this bishop could just come like this, and that was, I think, really good position for black. And now after this, Queen C7, Rook C1, Knight B4, very good play. Knight B4, AB4, and you will see that we have got our dream scenario, knight versus this poor bishop, and you will see how white is just groveling in this position. Yeah, it's just terrible how what happens, and black went on to win a nice game. So that's the dream that you can dream of, dream position. What is the dream position? Just to put things into perspective, after d4 and f6, c4 e6, knight f3 check, bd2, queen e7, g3, knight c6, bg2, I take, you take with the queen, then that leads to Nihua line. Remember that. If bishop takes, knight takes d2, then you go for d6, shifting the color of your pawns from this way, knight b8, knight e1, a5. By the way, someone asked b4 here. It's a very valid move. I would go a5, a3. I would play my knight to a6. I'm not concerned about losing a pawn like this because this pawn will be recovered anyway. And now if you go knight e1, I will go bd7, knight d3, c6. And at the right moment, I will take cd. If you take ed, I may jump here. If you take cd, I will jump here. And so black gets a lot of play. Okay. Whew. So that was pretty intense. There are so many games. Please study this structure better. Coming to this position, g3 is the main move, and now knight c6. Knight c3 is the main move. By the way, in one of my games, my opponent played here knight c3. And this was, I feel, not a great move. This was my game against Lalit Babu. Lalit Babu is a strong Indian grandmaster, and also, you know, he is national champion of India in 2017. And this was my first national A. Naturally, I was a bit worried and tensed in this game. Actually, now that I think about it, I used to be worried and tensed all the time while playing chess. It's kind of funny. Knight c3, the biggest advantage I have is that I have not developed my knight on c6 yet, and which I shouldn't need to. I just took, he took, I played knight e4, he played rook c1, I castled, he went g3, I played d6, and now to kind of surprise me, he went bishop b4, I played c5, b6, bishop b7, and I think black was equal because this bishop here is not so great. He did try to bring it back into the game somewhere, but my knights, once the knights have these solid, nice posts in the center, they are never really worse to a bishop as compared to a bishop. So I managed to draw that game. G3, knight c6. Now bishop g2 is what we covered. Now knight to c3, and here actually I am very proud that I'm proud that in this position I have some kind of new ideas here to share. First of all, bishop into c3 is the main move in this position, but what I used to play was castles, you know, in this. And my logic was everyone used to play bishop c3, bishop c3, knight e4, and then I would go rook c1. And white has a great position. In fact, this line is covered really well in Avruk's book. So if you want to have a look at it, do check it out from there. Or I can recommend one guy who is really good at these systems, that is Vidit. He has a couple of games here. Try to look at his games. He is very good at the opening prep in this line, and also these positions sort of suit him. Usually what happens is you castle and then bishop g2, and then the moment black plays d6 with the idea of e5, you play the move d5, and then black really is struggling, because after takes, knight b8, I think the move is de, and after fe you can play the move castles, and this entire structure with the rook nicely placed here, knight coming to d4, bishop strong here, gives white a very nagging edge, small edge but nagging edge. So that's the reason why I said to myself I should find something new here, and I started playing the move castles instead of taking. And then my opponents would play bishop g2, and then here I found this new idea which was knight to a5. uh, it's kind of weird actually, putting your knight on the side of the board, but I really didn't like playing this system where you give up your bishop and then let white recapture it, and then give him the opportunity to play d5 castle. I mean, white's position just looked so harmonious. So I wanted to do something different, and I played knight here. And now there are two main moves. One is b3, and the other one is c5. I think c5 is stronger, unfortunately, and this is what stopped me from playing this line further, because I thought knight c4 should give me a good position, but it was not to be actually. Here bishop g5 is just very powerful, and you can look at this in more detail, but it's not working out for black. I think c5 is just a very strong move. In fact, few games have continued with c5. b3 is what everyone played with me, and here I had this idea like b6 castles, I think. Yeah, because bishop, if knight e5, you have nothing to worry. I'll play just bishop b7 and exchange. My knight defends the bishop. So white usually castles, and then I play bishop b7 here in this position, and then queen c2 is the main move. And everyone, yeah, like everyone used to play in this position the move rook c8 or h6, or all kinds of c5, such moves. And then I think, if I'm not wrong, it was me who introduced the move d5 in the practice, and I'm not joking. If you want me to prove it, just I'll show it to you guys. This is my mega database here. Let me just share my screen. So you see this move d5 has been now played 17 times, but the first game was played in 2013 between Rusev Krasimir and Sagar Shah. It was a draw. And then it was played again in 2013 by Abhijit Kunte versus Sagar Shah. Again a draw, d5. And then, my opponent Rusev played it with black. He lost. Karthik Venkatraman played it with black. He lost. Hernandez played. And I think there are some strong players who did try, like who is this? Anurag Mamal, who is a GM, has played it. Neeraj Saripalli has played it. So I think I'm proud of one fact that I've contributed this new move to opening theory. It's a decent move, it's not a bad move. Echo? Really? Echo. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, I have to. Yeah, sorry for that. I hope things are better now. I just missed changing scenes. There could be an echo. Yash Shah says, "Hi Sagar, currently rated 1200. First of all, a big thanks for the super chat. Very kind of you to do that. I have a basic repertoire of openings: white, London system, English, black, Grunfeld, Sicilian, focusing on puzzles and endgames for now. Good strategy or better to expand repertoire?" I think good strategy. Have some good openings. I think it's good to have London system and English. Although I would really like you to play e4 or d4. Your game expands much faster. You're able to improve much faster as a player. Although English is not bad, and also London is a decent opening. Grunfeld Sicilian is fine. So just focus on solving tactics and endgames. That would be much better than going into learning more openings. You will learn more. Okay. So this is what, I don't know if Echo spoiled it, but I'll say it again just to make myself feel good. No, but it's not easy to contribute a new move to opening theory, which is then taken up by many people because everything has been tried before. So this is the move that I'm talking about here. queen c2, and now d5. And this is the move that has been played 17 times now, but the first two games, Rusev and Kunte, were against me, and I managed to draw both the games. I think that kind of convinced many people that this is a playable opening system. So I would recommend you to look into this further, to check this out. But my problem remains as to what to do for this move c5 here, and this is what is my worry. If you are able to find the answer to this or an antidote to it, again, you know what you have to do. You should write to me at chessbaseindia@gmail.com, and I would be very happy. So taking into consideration all these lines, I began to think, like, if this is not a good option, playing queen e7 g3, then I started to think of a new idea, which was to first take on d2 before knight c6. And my opponents, if they took on d2 with the knight, I'm already very happy. I'm going to play d6, I'm going to play e5, and this system from the game Naidich versus Mamedyarova. It's pretty good. But they would take queen into d2, of course, which is the right move. You want to get your knight to c3, and this is where I started to play the move knight c6 here. Now, if bg2, then we have knight e4, which kind of transposes to Nihua versus Sagar. But the main move is knight c3 here, and I want you to explore this position after the move d5. This is what I started playing a lot with black, and I think I had decent results. If I see the mega database, I have two games at least that I can see here, which is Lakshman. I lost to Prohaska, but I also played against some more players, and I drew some games. I won some of them. Um, You know, the move which I think caused maximum trouble here for me, I'm not sure. I mean, white has CD, ED, white has bishop G2, white also has E3, which is kind of weird. White has B3, which is also weird. Um, but I think all these moves have to be prepared very seriously if you want to play this system. Um, I think my game, whenever my opponents have played CD, ED, I have found it quite comfortable for myself. Like bishop G2, then I castle, then he castles, and here I had this uh, move like bishop G4, and later on I can put my knight on D8, play C6, put my knight somewhere E6, and in general it leads to kind of playable positions, nice positions, which is like this QGD structure with the bishop not so well placed on G2. So I was okay with this, but my opponent, I think Peter Prohaska, put a lot of pressure on me, and that's one of the lines where I want you to see if you can find some new ideas for black. Use your brain, use your engine, use all of this to find some new ideas. What he did was he played knight e5 here, and this is the critical move, knight e5. And here black kind of shamelessly, or you can say without any worry, takes on c4, because he really doesn't care about these tripled pawns. The point being that if you go bg2, I'm going to castle. If you take on c6, I'm going to play rook b8. I'll put pressure here, I'll come with my queen here, I'll try to break on e5. It's active position for loss in structure. But bg2 castles, bishop c6 takes, and now he played castles. This c5, rook fd1, bishop b7, take, take. I think somehow bishop b7 was not a great move here, and I managed to again land up in this position like I was with Nihua, where I was playing against a strong opponent with a structural weakness, and this is always risky. You more often than not they are able to beat you. So I lost this game. I don't know if you can follow the moves. Sorry. I am just making moves crazily on the board without you guys being able to see it. I'm very sorry. Very sorry for that. I hope. How much did I speak which you couldn't see? Yeah. Okay. D4, NF6, C4, E6, Knight F3 check. Bishop B. Now I think moves are coming. I'm sorry, I was just putting it on some other board and it was not capturing. Queen E7, G3. I think I spoke about this. Yeah, like Knight C6. I'm worried about Knight C3, and so I started taking on D2, and then after Queen D2. I played Knight C6, and now if Bishop G2, Knight E4, we have the Ni Hua line. That's what I wanted to mention. And so Knight C3 is the natural move, and now you play D5, and this is where I want you to do a bit of research on your own. Peter Prohaska actually played Knight E5, DC. Point is, I'm okay with this structural weakness because after BG2 castles, Bishop C6, Rook B8, I get a nice position with all these Rook B2 ideas, Queen B4, E5. A lot of activity. But he went Bishop G2, I castled, he took on C6, and then he didn't do anything related to the C6 pawn or C4 pawn. He didn't take them, and he just castled. I played C5, played Rook FD1, and somewhere I know I didn't play well, but I landed up in a bad position, and against a stronger, higher rated player, having such structural weakness is not a great idea. I lost this game. So I want you guys to think about this. By the way, CD ED is what I'm not very much afraid of. Like, because this structure, I'm very happy. Bishop G4, maybe Rook D8, Rook E8, maybe bring the knight back to B8, play C6, Knight D7, or Knight D8 could also come with C6. Black is doing fine. I mean, this I like to play with black. So look at these options here. After d5 there is a move b3, there is a move e3, there is also bishop g2, there is also cd. All these moves have to be considered, but I think black is doing okay in these games. These positions are all playable, it seems to me. Starting with tripled pawns. Okay, sure. All right, so guys, that was a bit of things. Like, this is my current status of the Bogo Indian, that I'm taking here on d2 and playing knight c6 and d5. So I can recommend you a5 as I did in this, and also queen e7, g3, knight c6, or if you don't like it, you can play bd2 takes knight c6. In general, playing the same idea with d6, castle, say bg2 e5 is not very effective, because now the knight can always jump to d5, and that's the reason why this plan is not very good. So shall we recap once everything, so that it is very clear to all of you? d4, nf6, c4, e6, knight f3 check, knight bd2 is what we looked at first. My main recommendation can be said castles a3, bishop e7, e4, but a lot of work there. Please think about it, how you want to go ahead with that. uh, My second recommendation is b6, and I'm very happy if my opponent takes and plays bishop g5 lines, because I go d6, knight d7, castle h6, g5, not castle, sorry, d6, knight d7, h6, g5, knight e4, and I am very happy with those positions. Also g5, h5 ideas. The move which really worries me is take b4 or e3. Let's say d6, e3, knight bd7, bishop b2, castles. If any of you can find something here, maybe you can start playing this system. There are some ideas with c5, there are some ideas with f5. All of this, I feel white keeps a nagging edge here. So that's the reason why my recommendation is that you castle a3, go back, allow e4, and then look at d5, or if you want to play positionally, look at d6 with two options, c5 or knight d7, e5. Now, if bishop d2, queen e7, yeah, knight d2. Another thing which I just forgot to say is that I was looking at this move a5. I'm not so certain about it, but you can think about it if you want to go deeper into it, like a3 takes, maybe a4, fixing this structure and playing. Possible. I'm just giving you an idea to think about. Instead of knight bd2, if bd2, then I recommend a5 as one of the possibilities here. Nice move. The idea always remains the same. Go quickly d6, bg2, knight d7, castles, and break the center with e5 before. Like if you are slow and you castle, then after something like bishop g5, this bishop is left like, oh my god, what should I do? I have nowhere to go. But if you play e5, and if he goes bishop g5, you can take on d4, and then you have a square for your bishop. So that's how I remember openings, by remembering some talk of my pieces. Oh my god, bishop is getting trapped, and so on. uh, yeah, a5 is something I recommend. Also, another thing is queen e7, g3, and now knight c6. We looked at it a lot. bg2, which looked earlier quite silly, is no longer very silly, because I think this is a playable line for white. I have absolutely no problems if my opponent takes knight d2. I'm in fact the happiest person if such a thing happens. I go a5, knight a6, bishop d7, c6, this break. Yeah. Queen d2, yeah, we looked at that, but really the main worry is knight c3. And then you can look into systems where you take, play knight e4 quickly, put the rook on, white plays rook c1. Now d6 and castle are two main moves, then black usually takes, and I believe white always keeps a small edge. Vidit versus Anand is also a good game in this line, which you can check at Tata Steel. I think it was a blitz game. um, so after knight c6, knight c3, I'm beginning to feel like, this my idea with castles, bishop g2, knight a5 works pretty well after b3, b6, castles, bishop b7, queen c2, and d5. Although there is a lot to learn here. You can check my games against Kunte, Rusev, Krasimir. I think those are good games. But I have a problem with c5, and I just am not able to make it work. So that's why I have to give it up. And so I started taking here and playing knight c6, knight c3, d5, and this is where the current state of theory is standing. I don't know if how is this line doing recently. I haven't followed it much. Maybe there are some good players playing it with black. Maybe it's gone out of fashion. Maybe something new is in fashion. But I hope that you got an idea of Bogo Indian, what it's all about. Bogo Indian is nothing but a man named Bogo Lyubov, who used to give a check with his bishop, who thought it's a cool move there was this guy Nimzovich who used to pin the knight, so they gave him the name Nimzo Indian. And then came his friend Bogo Indian, who started to give a check to knight f3, and then they named it Bogo Indian. And Bogolyubov, after Bogolyubov. And they never thought that after maybe 100 years, some guy named Sagar would be talking about their opening in his eighth season, eighth episode of opening training, and so much theory would be developed around it. But that's chess. Chess has come a long way, and I'll leave you with that. I want you to explore these systems. You know, I'm very inspired by this series called Cosmos. I don't know how many of you have seen it. It's it's a very interesting one. Carl Sagan was the first sort of host of that show, and then the next recent series you have Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's a great scientist. And what they tell you about the cosmos, but they don't really tell you just what's good, what's bad. They don't preach. What they do is they tell you the current state of things. They tell you what's happening in the world. And that I feel is sometimes not so easy to take, because you're like, tell me what's the best move here. Tell me what should I do? Should I go a5 here? Should I play queen e7? Please tell me. I'm like, explore yourself. If you're not going to explore, you're never going to improve. And what I did was I stated all the facts that I knew, that I have experienced over a period of 15, 20 years of playing chess. And I've put it all here, and then you can pick it up and you can say, oh, Sagar, you are wrong here. I don't like it. Oh, you say, nice, Sagar, I love it. I want to try it. And this is how this opening series is going to be. It's not about complete recommendations. It's more about giving you knowledge so that you can also become a stronger player. Let me just check chat and see if anyone here has written anything. Yes, there are a lot of people who have seen Cosmos. Nice. Yes, Sumit says, please post these games link along with last few days games on description. Um, yes, I will try to put the homework. Anything else? I think we are done here. Thank you all for joining in. By the way, anyone who's attending FIDE trainer seminar tomorrow, it starts from tomorrow. Say to Minocha, your game in Bogo Indian. I'll try to put it in the homework section if I can find it. I know I have seen it, but I don't know where I have put it in, so I have to find it. Kushal Chess, today you didn't make any arrow mistakes, which means you are not tired. Yes, Kushal, you can see me. I'm a little bit more fresh. I don't know why. I had a long session with the comedians, but maybe it's just like, maybe something good happened, yeah, in life. Story of thumbnail, Anadi, I already said. Go to the kitchen today, make some food for your family. Mayur Gondalekar says he's attending the FIDE trainer seminar. Okay, nice. Nice. Anyone else? Okay. And by the way, tomorrow there will be no session for the next 3 days. There will be no opening sessions because it clashes with the FIDE trainer seminar. I'm very sorry for that. But just explore all the 8 videos that are there. Try to learn more about it. And I'll be back on the 1st of June at the same time at 11 a.m. and we'll be back working. It's just a short break for all of you because I think the FIDE trainer seminar begins at 10 and I don't want to clash with it. So Yash Agarwal, the homework is basically, I'll put a link in the description where I'll put some games and you can just go through them, analyze them, and that will be good. Time for class on first would be at 11 a.m. Mehul Kamani says, when is chess-based application coming? Which chess-based application, Mehul? I'm not sure. Which one are you talking about? Chessbase 15 is already here. Chessbase mobile application already exists. So which one? Yes, all those who have sent emails, I will respond at some point. Please have patience. Yeah, we will talk about the seminars next time. And until then, goodbye. See you. Like this stream. If you liked it, subscribe to Chessbase India. And lastly, if you also want to become good at openings, I would seriously ask you to consider going for Chessbase 15 and Mega Database. It will be very useful to you. That is what I believe. Take care. Bye bye. See you and see you tomorrow after 3 days. But if you are looking at maybe some other streams, I will be there tomorrow. So see you. Bye.